I am Danae Floor. I attend Rocky Mount High School. I am interviewing Daniel Lee Colvin Jr. on Wednesday, October 13, 2021 at Rocky Mount High School. Also, Daniel Colvin is my principal at Rocky Mount High School. This interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. Okay, so first, we would like to know what made you join the military?
Couple of things. When I was a junior in high school, I kind of knew that I wanted to serve my country, mainly because my father had served in the United States Marine Corps. And my junior year in high school, I had signed up to go to the. I'm sorry for the interruption, Miss Ford, but what I was saying was, when I was a junior in high school, I actually signed up to go to the Army once I graduated. They had a stipulation in my contract that if I earned a basketball scholarship, then I would be released from that obligation. But I was set to go to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. But of course, everything turned out that I did earn a college basketball scholarship, so they released me on my duties. So once I went off to college, I wasn't in the right place as a person. I did well in school, but I had a lot of anger built up into me and had a short temper and stuff like that. So I knew I needed something to give me structure. And I actually played college basketball with a guy who was much like me, kind of stayed into stuff, didn't quite have things together. And he came back, I think it was my sophomore year, and he was totally different. And I was like, hey man, what changed over the summer? He said, I joined the United States Marine Corps. I was like, and you came back like this? I mean, because he was like super structured. No longer was he all over the place mentally. He had things together. He was always prompt. And I was like, man, I said, who's your recruiter? And he just kept telling me about the Marine Corps. And I was like, well, I need to get my life together. And that following summer, which was 1991, was it 91? I think it was 91. May have been 90. I get the dates mixed up, even though I wrote it down on the paper. I joined the Marine Corps that summer. And best decision that I ever made. I always kind of knew I wanted to serve my country, but the primary reason for me going to the Marine Corps is that I needed structure in my life in that point, time in my life. To be perfectly honest with you, I could have seen Mr. Colvin doing something bad, getting probably locked up. That's how, even though, and that's what's crazy. If you looked at just how I was performing in school, how I was performing on the basketball court, everything looked good to the outside world. But inside my head, I was dealing with, I couldn't leave what was going on at home with my mom, my dad, and stuff like that. And I just had all this anger, and I was taking it out on people. And I would like to say the Marine Corps saved my life, because I probably would have did something really stupid. Yeah.
How did your parents or siblings feel about you joining the service?
Oh, my mom absolutely hated it, because the typical parent thinks that when you join the military, that means you're probably going to end up in a war, which I've never been in a war, because luckily I missed. In fact, the first war I missed was Desert Storm. Before I got attached to my unit, the entire unit had left and went to Desert Storm. So for the first month, when I was attached to my unit, it was just me and a few other guys, because everybody else was, in the war, and they didn't stay long. But every parent thinks that kid joins the military, they're going to go off to war, something bad is going to happen. Yeah. And so she was not all for it. She respected it, my mom, but she did not want me to go. In terms of my dad, I don't think he really cared either way. I will say that his experience with the Marine Corps was not pleasant. He hated it. In fact, I think he may have forced them to kick him out before he finished basic training. And he had like 2 weeks to go. Never really talked to me about the Marine Corps. I just remember, seeing the pictures and stuff, him in his uniform, but he never actually spent years in the Marine Corps like I did.
Oh, so he was the only one in your family that went to the military, or there was others too? Oh, okay.
Well, no, I take that back. I had cousins, like I had a couple of cousins that joined. 2 of them were airborne. Now, I was the only one in our immediate family that joined the Marine Corps. Other ones joined, I had someone join the Navy. I had some cousins join the Army. But nobody joined the Marine Corps other than my dad.
Okay. What is your most vivid memory of your time training or in school? Or what was the best part?
Oh. Well, first of all, there's not a best part about Marine Corps training. I guess whenever you finish Marine Corps training, you can say, well, maybe I enjoyed the shooting range, learning how to be a marksman. But when I was going through the training, I thought it was torture, But like I said, after I got out, I was like, I really enjoyed learning how to be a marksman, a sharpshooter. But outside of that, there was nothing pleasant about Marine Corps training. It's just not. Probably one of my most memorable moments was I did something really stupid. And so we were sitting up in this room getting ready to take a class on Marine Corps history, because, they really teach you about the history of Marine Corps and all that stuff. And my drill instructor came up. The room was dark because they were getting ready to show a film. And my drill instructor came up behind me and slammed my face into the desk. I almost broke my nose.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and started screaming at me. And, everything turned out okay. I understood why he did it. He should have done it. And I don't think they do much of that now. But back when I went through United States Marine Corps, not something I'm sure the Marine Corps is proud of, but that's just the way Marines were trained. You were trained hard. When I look back on it, I'm actually glad he did it, because it was done because I didn't exercise discipline. And in Marine Corps boot camp, that's what you're taught. You have to have discipline at all times. And that's just the way I live my life now. You think about it, if you do send people off to war, you can't afford to have one individual not following orders, because some really bad things could happen.
Right.
So when you're going through training, everything is geared around teaching you how to maintain discipline of the situation. I don't know if you pay attention to how I operate here. Regardless of what happens, I don't get too high or too low. Parents come in, they may be upset. Students come in, they may be upset. That doesn't mean I have to break my discipline. And that's where that comes from. I can pretty much keep it together, regardless of the situation.
Yes. So was that the worst part?
The worst part was having my face slammed into that, and just the overall training. It's just bad. All 13 weeks. I can't remember a whole lot of. I can't remember anything good. And I'm not fabricating. I just cannot. This is an oxymoron. That means when you put a good and bad together. I can honestly say the Marine Corps is the best thing that ever happened to me. The experience was terrible, but after I got through it, it then ended up being the best thing for me. Do I think it's for everybody? No. Do I wish every young male, not females, but I do wish every male I wish it was a requirement that all males had to go through that type of training. I think the world would be a much better place.
Yeah, probably.
But you're not going to get me to sit here and give you fond memories about United States Marine Corps boot camp training. It's just not any. It's terrible from beginning to end.
Well, what was the easiest part you had to adapt to? Like, was there any easy for you, or?
The training part, again, there's nothing easy about it. Once you get out and you're assigned to your MOS, I can honestly say MOS, that's your job. That's what they call it in the military. Once you get out, depending on what job you have, you can do some really fun stuff. I was what's called a 0481 landing support specialist. What that person does, or what those folks do, if something were to ever break out and you had to deploy, 0481 longshoremen, they're the ones who load up all of the equipment that you're going to need to fight that war or whatever. If you're going to a beach or wherever, we're the ones who set up the camps. We're the ones who make sure the helicopters land and all of that stuff. It's kind of dangerous because you have to go first. But I enjoyed training to be a landing support specialist. I mean, it was some really cool stuff, jumping out of helicopters, jumping off boats, having to swim almost a mile to get to the beach. I was into that stuff back then. Could I do it now? No. I'd probably drown. I'm not that good of a swimmer now. But back when I was doing that training, to do my job as a Marine, I did enjoy that stuff.
So, like, did they give you any specialized training, or everybody had the same?
Well, technically, all jobs in the Marine Corps are specialized. I was a landing support specialist because of how I scored on the ASVAB, and that's how it works, and it pretty much works like that for all branches. You take this test, and that test, based on how you score, it generates all of these jobs. And then as a soldier, you just kind of pick one. Now mine came by default. Even though it was on my list, I got chosen to be a landing support specialist because my reserve unit was in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is on the coast. So that's where I was going to be and do all of my trainings. And it made sense because, number one, geographically, that was the closest place for me to train. And number two is that landing support specialist did show up on my list of jobs. So by default, it made sense that I would be a landing support specialist. Had I chosen something else on the list, I probably would have had a reserve unit way up in the mountains or something that would not have been feasible.
So, like, were you, like, ever scared to, like, do all the things you did in training, or, like, you were just excited and ready?
I got over all of my fear in basic training. When I was in basic training, there were things that we were preparing to do, and I was like, for example, the gas chamber. When you're in the gas chamber, you literally think you're gonna die. That's just how it is. I mean, you lose all of your faculties, but what keeps you going and gives you confidence, it goes back to that discipline. So you have to have a discipline. Okay, I'm feeling this way, but this is what I was told to do. And if I do exactly what I'm told, then everything's gonna work out. So you go in with the fear, but you get past the fear by just maintaining your discipline and doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And if you do that, then things will work out. That doesn't mean you're going to feel any better, but it does mean you're going to be able to get through the task. And so just by doing that for 13 straight weeks, different things, for example, jumping off a 20-foot tower into 30 feet water, fully dressed, rifle, all that stuff, you literally think you're gonna sink to the bottom and you're gonna drown. Yeah, so when you're standing up there looking down, you have a fear, but at the same time, what you always default back to, first of all, I always used to do this. Somebody went before me, they did okay. Why did they do okay? Well, it's because they did exactly what they were told to do. And so you end up just jumping. And so when you do that enough, after you get out of training, then you really don't really fear too much because you've already been tested so many times.
Yeah.
There's always a nervousness. Now, I've never been to war, thank God, but I never had a fear of if I were to be called. And the reason I never had a fear of that is because I knew that's what I signed up for. Mm. Now, I can't speak for other branches of service, but I can tell you 99% of the Marine, they understand that their job is to protect the country, and any given time they could end up in a place that could cost them their life. And they don't fear that. There's a nervousness about it, but there's not a fear because they've been taught to move past the fear element.
So what was it like training with equipment?
To me, that was the fun part. Like I said, I never thought I was going to be flying around. When you're flying around in a helicopter, basically you're dealing with some type of military equipment. Mm-hmm. I never thought I was going to be out in California shooting a 50 cal. You know, that's a gun that's about this big that it actually takes two people to operate. You know, we use a lot of equipment that you end up being fascinated by. For example, a lot of people don't know a 50 cal. If I don't have someone there after I go through so many rounds that takes the barrel off and put on another one quickly, then that barrel will literally just melt because that's how powerful and how hot the bullets are coming out of the chamber.
Oh, wow.
I never knew that I can set the woods on fire just by shooting a 50 cal. Well, that's how hot the lead and the bullets are that's coming out just by routinely shooting rounds. We set the woods on fire. I never would have thought that before I went into the military. So that was kind of fun stuff. Even though it was dangerous, I never thought I was going to be throwing a hand grenade, something that if I didn't do it correctly, again, it comes back to discipline. Mm-hmm. I don't do that correctly, and there have been Marine Corps recruits that were killed in training because they didn't do things properly. But you're talking about a real live hand grenade and you're training with it. I never thought I was going to be using that stuff. I never thought I was going to be setting up claymore mines. I know you don't know what that is, but where you setting these little trip wires. I never thought I was going to be out in the woods at 2:00 in the morning, pitch black dark, and I have a little compass, and I'm expected to find my way back, and it's like 5 miles away, and I don't know where the heck I am. But again, it goes back to discipline and stuff you never forget.
Yeah. So do you remember your first assignment after basic training?
My first assignment, I was at Camp Lejeune. We had a training exercise out there, and it lasted for 2 straight weeks where we had to stay out in the field. Mm-hmm. And what I remember most about that, it was really my first time using a sleeping bag. It was always a part of my equipment, but I went through basic training in the worst time in terms of the summer because it's so hot in Parris Island, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And so I know what my equipment is, but some of it I never got a chance to use. And a sleeping bag was one of them because it was hot. So my first training exercise, it was in Camp Lejeune. We were out in the field, and I think it was probably on average 15 to 20 degrees every night. And I'll never forget the first night they had these brick barracks, and they're still there because that's a training site, Camp Lejeune. And it was this little cinder block barracks that we had to sleep in that night. Mm-hmm. So me and all the other young Marines, that was our first time. We didn't know. All we knew, it was cold as heck. So we go in there, and it was time for us to lay down for the night. Everybody started packing on all of these clothes to get in bed for the night because it was cold. We thought you put on more clothes. And so our sergeant just kind of was looking at us and he yelled at us, strip down now, strip down to your underwear. And we was like, man, it's cold. And he was just like, just strip down and get in your sleeping bag. And to this day, that's one of the warmest nights I've ever slept. What he taught us was, and a lot of people don't know this, when you go through training, they teach you this. In really cold weather, if you layer on too much and you start to sweat, guess what? That water starts to freeze and you actually get colder.
Oh, wow.
So when he told us to take off all of those layers of cold, he was actually protecting us because he didn't want us to sweat. And so by taking off all of our clothes and getting into the sleeping bag, the way it's not a normal sleeping bag now, but the way it's designed, it is designed to keep you warm, and it needs to be in contact with your skin. Not all. Had we gotten in there with all those clothes on, and the way that sleeping bag is designed, we just would have all been cold all night because we would have spent all night sweating. Yep.
So there's any particular instructor that stand out in your mind?
The instructor that slammed my face into that desk that day, drill instructor Sergeant Pugh was his name. Drill instructor Sergeant Pugh, one of the only few drill instructors that they let do 2 tours of duty. A lot of people don't know this. Being a Marine Corps drill instructor is so hard. In fact, people who do that job have the highest divorce rate in the service because those guys or girls, they don't spend any time at home. They are with their recruits 24 hours a day for 13 weeks. And it's so demanding that you can only do it for 2 years. Where drill instructor Sergeant Pugh was one of the few people they let do for 4 years. So that tells you a lot about how tough he was. Little short guy, I think he had already been in probably 15, 16 years, hardcore, great martial artist, so everybody was scared of him. You knew not to cross him, he'd beat the crap out of you. But a great trainer. The last time, the crazy thing is, I actually, I don't have Facebook or anything, don't believe in it, but one of my Marine Corps buddies has Facebook, and I think about 3 years ago, he's like, hey, remember, because we went together. And in fact, it was one of my high school buddies. We went to Marine Corps boot camp training at the same time. He's like, guess what Sergeant Pugh is doing now? He had retired from the Marine Corps, and he's a police officer in Georgia, I think. So he knows nothing else to do. That guy's probably going to wear a uniform the rest of his life. Tough. I was scared to death of him the whole time I was in there. But that man probably saved my life. And I never forget what he said to me the day I graduated, because they literally don't, you don't have conversations for 13 weeks with your drill instructor. It's all one way communication, and that's him yelling at you. And you don't see the human side of them until it's all over. And that's when you graduate. And I remember the day I graduated, and my parents were standing off waiting on me, and he kind of walked up to me and was like, you're a good Marine, Colvin, one of the best I ever trained. And it shocked me. And I was like, man, first of all, I can't believe he's saying that to me. I can't even believe he's talking to me. And for someone of his status to say one of the best that he's ever trained, I walked away feeling pretty good as a Marine.
So did you receive any promotions?
I was reservist now, so that's a little bit different. So rank for me did not happen like if a Marine was full-time every day. But one of the things that I'm proud of is that, first of all, I went in a rank higher than all of my fellow recruits because I was actually in college. So I got ranked because I was in college. And so I came out a Lance Corporal. Normally you come out a private. And I was already Lance Corporal, which means I had a stripe whenever I came out of boot camp. That doesn't happen to everybody. And when I got out and attached my reserve unit, 3 months later I was corporal. And normally you're in a couple of years before you make it to corporal. So that was big for me. Another great moment, I guess, and this is probably why Sergeant Pugh said I was one of the best he's trained. I graduated #1 out of my class.
Oh, wow.
That's hard to do. When you graduate #1, that means in terms of whether it's shooting a gun, jumping out of a plane, whether it's doing push-ups, whether it's running, I was the best out of 60-some guys out of my platoon. And my greatest achievement in training was I was guide. Guide is like if you see a platoon marching, if you notice there's always someone up to the front that's carrying a flag with a number on it. Well, that number is the name of the unit. Like I was platoon 1072. Every regiment that goes through there, they're going to be assigned a number. That never changes. Even Marines that go through now, they will never have 1072 because that number's gone. And so that person that's carrying that flag with that number on it, that's the leader of that platoon. And I carried it for 12 weeks. I didn't have it the first week because they thought this other guy was better than me, so he had it for the first week. But after the first week, I'm proud of it. I took the flag, and so it's always a test. Is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it? And so for me to carry that flag for the remainder of the training, which was 12 weeks out of the 13, that was pretty much an honor.
So how did you stay in touch with your family and friends?
In basic training, you don't stay in touch with
Oh,
anybody.
God.
I tell you, I don't have nothing good to say about Marine Corps training. I'll just tell you how it works, and maybe you'll get something out of that. When you go to Marine Corps training, first of all, you don't, on the East Coast, all training, and a lot of people don't know this, the Marine Corps is the smallest branch of service. Did you know that?
No.
Okay, that's why when you see the few and the proud, the few stands for, that's the smallest branch of service. Even though anytime there's any type of conflict, you always see the Marine Corps go because they're considered the best. But what people don't realize is actually the smallest branch of service. Yes, so the best thing to do is just tell you how Marine Corps training goes. Everybody goes to Parris Island, that's on east of the Mason-Dixon line. So anybody west of that would train out in Camp Pendleton, California. Anyway, Parris Island is literally that. It's a small island down in South Carolina that's surrounded by water. When you go to Parris Island, they take you there at night, so you don't even know how you get on the island. You just don't. And when you get there, it's probably, you've been up all day. It's probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when you get there, and just the whole training starts. And they kind of trick you at first, because the first week you have these what's called receiving drill instructors. Their only job is to teach you basic stuff, and it's very low impact. I mean, you get your uniform, even when they're teaching you how to march and to be in attention. It's very low impact, not any yelling. Well, that first week, if you want to contact family and anything, it's no talking on the phone. That's out. You don't use the phone. But you can write letters if you want to. And so, yeah, I used to sit down and write my mom, hey, first couple of days, all right. And then that Sunday, you get picked up, and that's when the real training starts. That's when all the yelling, that's when people start pop beside the head. I probably shouldn't be saying that up there. And you start training every day. I got up every morning at 3:30. By 3:45, we're eating breakfast. By 4:15, I say probably about 4 o'clock, we're already out running in the dark. And notice now, I said 3:45, you eating breakfast, 4 o'clock, you're running. Or at least back to the barracks changing so you can run. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't stop. And then when it's time to lay down and go to bed, and I still do the same thing now. My wife will tell you, I have a TV in our bedroom, but I don't watch TV, I don't even turn it on, because as soon as my head, it's just like here, it kind of reminds me of Marine Corps. When I get home, I'm so tired. When I lay down, it's like, I don't even remember going to sleep. So I never got it. For the next 12 weeks, I never wrote a letter. You couldn't make phone calls anyway. I certainly didn't write letters, because my mind was just on trying to survive what I was going through. So I never wasted time writing letters. In fact, the only time you can use the phone was 2 days before graduation, just to let your parents know what time graduation was.
Wow. That's it?
When I left to go down there, my parents did not hear from me again until I made that phone call.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, once I got out and got my reserve unit, I mean, it's just like now. I mean, I slept in my own bed as long as I did my reserve duty once a month. I mean, it was just regular life. But during training, no, it wasn't no contact with parents.
Did you form any kinds of friendships while you were serving?
In the Marine Corps, and this is something that I wish was applied to everyday life. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter, or it doesn't matter if you're talking about now. And I know it hasn't changed. This has not changed. It doesn't matter if that person is black, white, Hispanic, Indian. It doesn't matter where you come from, what your color is, creed. In the Marine Corps, you are referred to as light green and dark green, because the color is green, and that's what they always taught. Your skin may be a little bit lighter than me, but you are still a Marine. You're a light green Marine. I'm dark green Marine. And so when you ask me, do I keep up with them? Of course, I don't have Facebook, so no, I don't keep up with anybody. But there's always this bond that will exist forever. Like I told you, I went to the training with one of the guys I went to high school with, so he keeps up with me. In fact, I know where he is right now. He works down in Kinston, North Carolina at a community college. Being a part of that fraternity, and that's what it's like. It's like the ultimate fraternity. I can go anywhere, not know anybody, and the person not know me, and I can identify and say, that's a Marine. It doesn't matter, white, black, green. Once we identify and say, you're a Marine, we start talking, when did you go through? We act like we're brothers for life, and it could be someone I've never met. Oh, wow. The last time I experienced that, I was just camping a few weeks ago, and there's a Marine down at the campsite. But the real experience, it was probably about 3 years ago up in West Virginia. My wife and I was in this hotel, and this hotel had a indoor pool. And so our balcony was overseeing the pool, and I saw this guy swimming. I told my wife, I said, that's a devil dog right there. It was a white guy. So I said, hey, devil dog. He said, you devil dog too? Hoorah. Somebody I've never met before. And then he's in the pool swimming, and I'm up on the balcony. Yeah, I went through such and such year. Yeah, I went through such and such. And this whole conversation, and my wife has gotten used to it now because she don't pay attention to it. And his wife certainly is used to it. And so they just let these two Marines go on for 10 to 15 minutes, and then it's just like over. But the cool thing is that how this bond is developed, and there's a respect for the fellow man regardless of how you look. And that's what's powerful about the Marine Corps.
Do you recall any humorous or unusual events?
Yeah. This is not going to come across as funny, but we laughed about it once it was all over. I told you, one of my high school friends went with me in the Corps, and we went on the buddy system, and he always credit me for helping him get through it because he don't think he would have made it. And I tell him, I don't think I would have made it without him. But anyway, he was a lot smaller in stature than I was, smaller guy. And I mean, training is hard. And it was starting to get the best of him. So one night, he came up to me. He had snuck out of his bunk. I said, man, you better get back in your bed. I mean, drilling started to come out there and see out here. He's going to kill all of us. So just like that stuff you see on the movies, it happens. And so he came out. I said, what's up, man? He's like, man, I've figured out a way how to get off this island. I said, what are you talking about? First of all, we don't even know how we got on this island. About you done figured out a way to get off. It was starting to get to him mentally. I mean, to the point where he was about to go off the deep end. And he said, I've been watching. He said, have you noticed that dumpster right outside of our barracks? I said, yeah. He said, well, that dump truck comes every day. He said every other day at the same time. He said, all we got to do is get out there and get in that dumpster. This is a real conversation he's having with me. All we got to do is get out there and be in that dumpster when that truck comes and dump the trash, and that dumpster's got to go off this island. I said, man, are you crazy? Do you know what happens as soon as that trash gets dumped into that dump truck? What happens? Even you know that.
Yes.
You got this machine that comes like that. I said, you better get that crazy thought out of your head. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's right. And so when we got out, we really laughed about that, how this guy was literally sitting up. McMillian was his name. How McMillian was sitting up plotting how we could escape Marine Corps boot camp. And that's the idea he came up with, us getting it. The other thing, I tell you one other funny story. It wasn't funny at the time, just like that wasn't funny. But you got me reminiscing now. There's a point in the training, and I know when it is. It's right before they're getting ready to put those guns in our hands. Because of the stress level, they want to try to bring down that stress before they put a gun into your hand. Because there's been some situations where young Marines in training just lost it. So they will allow your parents to send, and they send the letters home for you. Hey, this week right here, you can send snacks. Okay? So this particular week, the mail comes in. Okay? All 60-some guys, they opening up their packages. I never forget what I got, because I used to love, I still love them. I just don't eat them now because I know I'm getting older. Oreos. Man, my doggone care packet. It's called a care packet. That's exactly what it's called. All of us had a care packet. Mine, I had all these Oreos, and back then I was eating Zero candy bars. I had all of these. So everybody tore open their stuff, and we were all excited. And we finally were getting a chance to eat some junk food, because I mean, you don't eat junk food in there. And so the drill instructor had us open up all of our care packets, and we're thinking we're getting ready to eat this stuff. And then all of a sudden, he comes through and just starts stepping on everybody's stuff. Throw that garbage in the trash. You Marines, we don't eat that garbage. I don't care if this is the week, you can have your care packet. Nobody in my platoon gonna eat that stuff. He put all of that stuff in a bag. I'm talking about, and it probably was a pile this high of cookies, chips, candy, sodas. Threw it all in the middle of the floor. Everybody had to throw their stuff in the middle of the floor. Then he got two of us, it wasn't me, but two of the guys out of the platoon, go get that trash can. Threw all of our stuff in the trash can and went and threw it in the dumpster. And I mean, we kind of laughed about it after we got out, and it was kind of funny, but
Oh my God.
yeah, it was torture. But a couple of us did sneak out that night and was eating, and we were eating out of the dumpster.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and we'd got caught, we probably would have got kicked out. But yeah, all of our care packages, all of that food just got thrown in the dumpster. Yeah.
But is there any, like, did you do anything fun when you were off duty? Okay.
Yeah, what we used to do, I give you this example. We were doing some training out in San Francisco, California, and they gave us what's called, when you get a break, they call that liberty. Mm-hmm. And they was like, hey, you got 8 hours of liberty, okay, tomorrow. I think, or maybe it was that night. Anyway, San Francisco is only, it's been a long time now, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours from Nevada. So we went and jumped on a bus and went into Reno, Nevada, which, and I know you're not a gambler, you shouldn't get into that, but we were young Marines. So Reno is the original gambling town. It's like one of the first places in the United States that had legalized gambling. So we jumped on a bus, and all of us Marines, probably about 10 of us, caught the bus over into Reno, and we stayed up all night long just gambling. Did some other bad things, I won't discuss that. But, I mean, that was just kind of fun, just hanging out with the Marine buddies and throwing away our money, because we didn't have much. But all of us was just gambling. Then we got back on the bus probably about 5 in the morning. We back on base by 7 o'clock, ready to go. Stayed up all night though.
Y'all was tired?
Fun. Yeah, that was fun. Marines don't believe in sleep. You sleep when you can.
Was there anything you did for good luck?
For good luck?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I don't believe in luck. So it's hard for me to answer that question. I believe that luck is when preparation meets opportunity, which means if you prepare and you're ready, when the opportunity presents itself, you're going to be able to take full advantage of it. Well, if I constantly, again, it goes back to discipline. If I'm constantly prepared for something, and when that opportunity happens, I'm able to take advantage of it for anybody else because I have prepared. Mm-hmm. And then other people look at that and say, oh man, that Coben is so lucky. It always happened to him. Mm-hmm. They don't realize I did not work you. That ain't luck. I didn't end up in this place because of luck. I didn't end up in my last job because of luck. It's because I've always worked hard and tried to prepare for the next step.
Mm-hmm. Do you recall the day service ended?
Yes, I don't remember the exact date, but I do remember the day because I was really close with one of my fellow Marines, Vines, Marine Vines. I would love to see him one day now. We got pretty close, and we kind of got out at the same time. And I just remember us going in, turning in all of our equipment, and we were laughing and joking. And but right before we departed, we was like, man, this was cool. Not just the experience, but it was just cool meeting somebody that, like, if I were to run into him on the street now, and I'm pretty sure he would say the same thing. I met somebody in life that, regardless of what I get into, I know I can pick up the phone, call, and he'll be right there. And so, yeah, I do remember that because we had that type of conversation right before we got in our cars and kind of drove off. So, yeah, I remember that day.
Was it hard to readjust to, the regular life?
Not when I got out of service completely. It was a hard adjustment when I got out of boot camp. Because, like I told you, I was used to getting up at 3:30 every morning. And it was kind of funny. I remember I was back at my parents' house, and at 3:30 in the morning, they would hear something in the kitchen. I'd be sitting to the table eating breakfast at 3:30 in the morning. At 3:45, they would hear me leaving out of the house, slamming the door because I was going running. And probably after about a couple of weeks of that, my mom was like, I don't care what it takes, you're gonna have to break that habit. I mean, she got it and she understood it, but she said, you're gonna have to figure out how to get out of that because I was just disturbing everybody. So it was a tough adjustment, and I think that's always stayed with me. Even now, even on the weekends, I'm still up at 5 o'clock every morning, and you think I got to drive into Rocky Mount. It drives my wife crazy today, but I'm just wired to get up early. I can go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm still gonna wake up at 5.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's something that's kind of never left me. I wish it would, because I would like to lay in the bed a little bit longer. But so yeah, I've never gotten away from that, getting up really early.
What was your family reaction when you got back from the military after it ended? Because how it changed you. So what was the reaction to that?
The first reaction was a funny reaction. Like I said, my parents came down to my graduation. My parents didn't even recognize me out there because I was so black. I tell you, I was in the hottest part of the summer, so that was the first reaction. They're like, "Good God, you're black." I wish I had that picture. You'd be able to see it. But remember, I think I stated that my mom wasn't too fond of me going. But everybody was really proud, first and foremost, that I just actually made it through because it is that hard. But everybody was also proud that, I chose to serve my country. Everybody was thrilled with the changes that they saw in me. I don't think I would have finished college, which I could have graduated early. And I think that was only because I gained so much discipline and stuff from the Marine Corps. It just helped me focus on things. And so, again, it just changed my whole life, and everybody in my family recognized that. Even today, people know it's something that's a little bit different about me. And that difference is the Marine Corps experience. I can hang out with family. I do all the cool things everybody else do, but they know, for example, I give you this example. We can be having a cookout at my house or my brother-in-law's house. It's all family because that's all we hang out with. They know at a certain time, I don't care what's happening, I am leaving because I have to be back at the house at a certain time so I can start to wind down so I can prepare for the next day. Even my wife knows that. If she say, hey, let's go over such and such time, we have to go through okay, how long are we going to stay? Because you know just about how long I can take. And it's even to the point where sometimes we'll drive separately because she knows she might want to stay a little bit longer, but I'm going to reach a point where, nah, he's got to leave. And so it's just, I don't know, it's a lot of little
So there was
little
no
quirks that I can't get rid of.
the time like you stayed longer. Like, do you never know what happened if you stayed longer, or you just never?
I'm not
experienced
saying
it?
I haven't ever broken my discipline, but I always end up paying for it. And this is the example. I am a firm believer that as long as I get at least 5 to 5.5 hours of sleep, I can function just fine, don't feel anything. And so I'm always conscious about getting in bed at a certain time, getting in bed at a certain time, because I know rest is that important. Now, for most people, they might need 7 hours, 8 hours. For me, if I get 5.5, I'm good. So whenever I'm out sometimes, that's what I'm constantly thinking about. Okay, my wife and I was saying, well, we still playing spades. I don't. You can play spades to 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not. And every time I break my discipline and I ended up staying too long, I pay for it the next day. I'm just like, I'm drained. It seems like I can't function, and it's because I didn't get my proper rest. Because I've already told you, regardless of what time I go to bed, I'm going to probably wake up around 5. Okay? So I can't afford to be staying out to 12 and 1.
Yeah.
Because that means I'm gonna only end up getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep, and then I end up feeling terrible the next day, and I'm just not as sharp. So if we're out somewhere, my wife knows I gotta be back to the house 10, 11 o'clock at the latest.
So like, did they have any reunions for like the Marines?
Oh, that picture I showed you, that was the Marine Corps Ball, which is getting ready to come up. I don't know if you know it, but every November 10th, that's the Marine Corps birthday. So around the birthday time, regardless of where you at in the country, what base you're attached to, you're going to have the opportunity to go to the Marine Corps Ball. They're going to organize that, and it's in celebration of the Marine Corps birthday. So yeah, we did stuff like that all the time. In fact, when I was in, I went to the Marine Corps Ball every year. And that picture you saw, that was me and one of my Marine buddies at the Marine Corps Ball.
So what exactly do y'all do there? Like,
At the Marine Corps Ball, first of all, it's similar to, if I had to compare it, then things like going to the prom. Okay, your lady dress up really nice, you go there, there's dance and stuff like that. Now, once you get there, there's certain, I mean, you're going to have a nice dinner, you're going to have the music and everything, but they will take time out to cut the cake, because you are celebrating the Marine Corps birthday. You're going to see this ceremony with the Marine Corps sword and stuff like that, but that only lasts like 10 to 15 minutes. You're going to hear a few comments from the commandant. That's the leader of the Marine Corps. And after that, I mean, really, it's kind of like being at the prom.
well, is there any experiences from the military that affected your life completely?
Well, all of the discipline, I've said at least 3 times now that I think it saved my life. So the experience just instilled in me all of the discipline that it takes to do whatever in life that's good. Just like coming here. Do you notice I stand outside every day?
Yeah.
That's the Marine in me. I think I'm supposed to be up front on guard, looking out for you, the faculty, and that's in my mind. I won't feel, if you don't see me out there, that just means I'm in a meeting or something. I can't be out there. But 98% of the time, you're gonna see me standing out there, and I just think that just comes from my experience and the discipline and just what's been ingrained in my head that I'm supposed to serve and protect. Mm-hmm. So when you see me always standing out there or standing in the cafeteria, in my mind, regardless of what other people think, I think I'm serving and protecting at all times, and I can't get out of that. And I did it before I did it before I came to Rocky Mount. You can go to any school I've ever been to, they will tell you that Colvin is always standing outside, rain, sleet, or snow, if he's on that campus, and he's going to be there when students get off the bus. 15 years straight.
Oh, wow. Are there any other about from the military service?
You know, a lot of those life lessons you really know. Mm-hmm. The Marine Corps just teaches you to don't take it for granted. You know, like, there's nothing wrong with saying yes ma'am, yes sir. It really isn't. You know, I hear kids around here talking, you gotta, you get respect if you give respect. But what I really find is a lot of people don't know what respect looks like. Mm-hmm. You know, how are you expecting to get respect when you don't even know that it's really okay to say yes ma'am, no sir. It's really okay to say good morning when you see somebody. It's mm-hmm. really okay if you see a young man, open the door for her to walk through. Mm-hmm. Those are life lessons that I think we all kind of know about, even though I'm kind of thinking some of those things are lost now in this generation. But the Marine Corps, again, it gets back to serve and protect and look out for others. Those are the life lessons I'll never forget. Just like if a teacher, whether it's at this school or any other school, there's not a teacher or anybody that I've ever worked with can say to you, I call them by their first name. I don't care how long I work with you, it would never be where I'm so comfortable that I say, hey, Denasia, how you doing today? It's going to be, how you doing, Miss Ford? Ask anybody, and I hear people in the office call each other by their first names, and that's their preference. I don't have a problem with that. I don't do it. I just think it's another quirk of mine. And sometimes I think people that I work with, especially because of the position I'm in, they think, oh man, that's Colvin. I mean, he never lets his guard down. Yes, I do. I love to laugh more than anybody in this building. They'll tell you. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say, right, Miss Ford? Mm-hmm. You know, that was funny, wasn't it, Miss Ford? It's not going to be, ain't that right, Denasia? There's certain lines and boundaries that I don't cross.
Is there anything else you would like to add that we haven't covered in this interview?
I think you've covered quite a bit. I think I would close on the fact that I stated earlier. I think I wish it's something that everybody could go through, mm-hmm. even if they just went through the basic training, because I just think the things that are instilled in a person are things that will stay with you. I'm talking about good things that will stay with you the rest of your life, that can really help you be, first of all, hopefully a success, and not only a success, because sometimes I think that's a little selfish, just thinking about what you've done. What I got most out of the Marine Corps and is the value that it taught me in giving everything I got to others. Mm-hmm. To me, that's I get kind of emotional when I talk about it, because That's the ultimate. When you give everything you got for other people. Think about how many people don't do that.
Right.
Yep. And if we had more people to do that, we wouldn't have near the problems that we have.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have any problems with, I can't tell you, I literally cannot tell you anything that I stress over. And when I tell people that, it's hard for them to believe. And the reason I don't stress over a lot of things because I know how I live my life. And if I'm living my life to give and to serve, then everything else is going to be all right. And so I don't spend time, just like my wife called me. You think I didn't know what that call about? Okay, if you want 200, 300, just take it, leave me alone. I'm not stressing over that. To me, those things are minor in life. And when I get tired, I just go to the house. And right now, I'm not tired. I love coming into work the other day. I mean, every day, serving others and doing the best job that I can. At some point in the end, I don't know when, but at some point it will. And when it does, when this is done, then I'm pretty sure, what I learned from the Marine Corps in terms of serving and protecting others, I find something else to do. Whether it's working at the Boys and Girls Club or helping kids in the community or coaching young kids, it'll be something. Yeah. I die doing that.
I think that's about it. Thank you for sharing, your memories about the military service.
This has been really cool for me. I appreciate it. It gives me a chance to just forget about everything else for a second. So the interview was good for me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.